10 years is a long time, long enough to change who you are, how you think, and what you want out of life. When I walked away from my wife, Emily, a decade ago, I had no idea what life without her would be like. I left because I couldn't handle the betrayal. She had an affair, and it shattered me. It wasn't just the act of infidelity, it was who she had it with. Brian, my best friend at the time, someone I had trusted for years, was the one she betrayed me with. It felt like my entire world had collapsed. Leaving was the hardest decision I had ever made. We had been married for 8 years at that point, and I truly believed we had built something unbreakable. But love, trust, they're fragile, and once they're cracked, they're never the same. So I packed my things and left. No long goodbye, no pleading from her side. I couldn't bear to hear any excuses. It was just too painful. Life after leaving her was tough. The first few years were the worst. I constantly thought about her, replaying every moment of our relationship, wondering where I went wrong, what I could have done differently. Therapy helped, and slowly I started to rebuild my life. I got a new job in a different city, made new friends, and eventually I started dating again. But no one ever felt like Emily. There was always that void. Fast forward 10 years, and Emily reached out to me out of nowhere. I remember staring at the email she sent, my heart racing like I was seeing a ghost. She asked how I was, mentioned how she'd been thinking about me, and that she wanted to meet just for coffee, she said. My first instinct was to delete it. What good could come from opening old wounds? But something in me needed to see her. I wasn't sure if it was closure or curiosity, but I agreed. The day we met for coffee felt surreal. When I saw her walk into the cafe, it was like no time had passed. She still had that same smile, the one that had always made my heart skip a beat. We talked for hours. She told me about her life after I left, how she had moved back to her hometown, gone back to school, and was now running a small business. She didn't mention Brian, and I didn't ask. As we were leaving, she paused, looked at me with tears in her eyes, and said, "I never stopped loving you." Those words hit me like a freight train. All the emotions I had buried for years came rushing back. I realized I still had feelings for her, despite everything. We started talking more after that meeting. Emails turned into phone calls, and soon we were spending time together again. Before long, we were dating. It felt strange at first, but also familiar, like slipping into an old pair of shoes. I told myself that people change, that maybe we could rebuild what we had. After a few months of dating, we decided to give it another shot and got remarried. It felt like fate had given us a second chance, an opportunity to fix what was broken. For the first year or so, everything seemed perfect. We were happy, really happy. It felt like all the pain from the past had finally healed, and we were moving forward together. I started to trust her again, something I never thought I'd be able to do. But then, little things started to happen. At first, they were subtle. She'd get phone calls late at night and walk out of the room to take them. She started working late more often, and when I asked her about it, she'd say it was because her business was growing. I wanted to believe her. I told myself that I was being paranoid, that I was letting the past poison my mind. But deep down, something didn't feel right. One night, while she was in the shower, I noticed her phone buzzing on the kitchen counter. I didn't mean to invade her privacy, but the temptation was too strong. I picked up her phone and saw a text from an unknown number. It was a simple message, just a smiley face and the words, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow." My stomach dropped. My mind immediately went back to Brian. Was she doing it again? Was I being played for a fool? I didn't confront her right away. I wanted to be sure. Over the next few weeks, I started paying more attention, noticing the little things I had previously ignored. There were more late-night texts, more secretive phone calls. It was like she was slipping back into old habits. One day, when she said she had to work late, I decided to follow her. I felt ridiculous, like I was acting out a scene from some bad movie, but I needed to know. She didn't go to work. She drove across town to a quiet little cafe, the same one where we had reconnected. And there, waiting for her, was Brian. My chest tightened, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. They sat together, talking, laughing, the way we used to. It was like watching a nightmare unfold in real time. I wanted to burst in there, to scream, to demand answers, but I didn't. I just stood outside watching, feeling the familiar sting of betrayal. When she came home that night, I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I didn't have the strength to confront her. But over the next few days, it became clear that this wasn't just some innocent meetup. She was seeing him again. When I finally confronted her, she broke down in tears, admitting everything. She told me that she had never truly stopped loving Brian, that even though she loved me, she couldn't let go of him. It was like a knife to the heart. All the effort, all the rebuilding we had done over the past few years felt meaningless. She had chosen him once before, and now she was choosing him again. I left that night, And this time, I knew I wouldn't be coming back. The lesson I learned is that some things can't be fixed. Some betrayals cut too deep, and no amount of time can heal them. I had given us a second chance, but it was a mistake. I had been chasing a version of her that didn't exist anymore, and maybe never did. In the end, I realized that taking her back wasn't a triumph of love or forgiveness. It was a step backward into the same darkness I had once escaped, and this time I wouldn't make the same mistake. Sometimes letting go is the only way forward. Thank you for joining me on this emotional journey. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from the people we love the most, and not all second chances lead to happy endings. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales. Let me know in the comments, have you ever faced a moment where a second chance wasn't what you expected? Until next time, take care. And remember, some chapters are better left closed.